13, what is the verse? 8. Very nice writing. Beautiful.
You?
Very good.
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
How's that?
I'll give you some reward. 8. Ratna jivatu dehoyam.
Rakyo jivatu dehoyam.
Ratna jivatu dehoyam.
Rakyo jivatu dehoyam.
Prasana prabhavo yadi.
Prasana Prabhu Yadi.
Prasana prabhavo yadi.
Prasana Prabhu Yadi.
Tateti ukteni mi praha.
Tateti ukteni praha.
Tateti ukteni mi praha.
Tateti ukteni mi praha.
Ma bhume deha bandhanam.
Ma bhume deha bandhanam.
Ma bhume deha bandhanam.
Ma bhume deha bandhanam.
Rakno jivatu dehoyam.
Rakyo jivatu dehoyam.
Prasana prabhavo yadi.
Prasana Prabhu Yadi.
Tate chukteni mi praha.
Tateti ukteni mi praha.
Ma bhume deha bandhanam.
Ma bhume deha bandhanam. Rakyo jivatu dehoyam.
Rakyo jivatu dehoyam.
Prasana Prabhu Yadi.
Prasana prabhavo yadi.
Tateti ukteni mi praha.
Tate chukteni mi praha.
Ma bhume deha bandhanam.
Ma bhume deha bandhanam.
Rakyo Jivatu Dehoyam.
Rakyo jivatu dehoyam.
Prasana Prabhu Yadi.
Prasana prabhavo yadi.
Tate Chukteni Mi Praha.
Tateti ukteni mi praha.
Mabul Me Deha Bandhanam.
Ma bhume deha bandhanam.
Ragno jivatu dehoyam.
Yagno jivatu dehoyam.
Prasana prabhavu yadi.
Prasana prabhavo yadi.
Tateti ukteni mi praha.
Tateti ukteni mi praha.
Mahu me deha bandhanam.
Ma bhume deha bandhanam.
Ragyo jivatu dehoyam.
Yagno
Jivatu
jivatu dehoyam.
Prasana prabhavu yadi.
Prasana prabhavo yadi.
Tateti ukteni mi praha.
Tateti ukteni mi praha.
Mahu me deha bandhanam.
Ma bhume deha bandhanam. Ratnaha
Rajna
of the king.
of the king.
Jivatu
Jivatu
may again be enlightened.
may be enlightened.
Deha ayam. This body
This body
now preserved.
now preserved.
Prasanaha
Prasanna
very much pleased.
very much pleased.
Prabhavaha
Prabhu
all able to do it.
all able to do it.
Yadi
Yadi
if.
if
Tata
Tata
let it be so.
let it be so.
Iti
Iti
thus.
thus
Ukte
Ute
when it was replied
when it was replied
by the demigods.
by the demigods.
Nimihi
Nehe
Maharaj Nimi
Maharaj Nimi
Praha said,
said,
Mabhut
Mahu
do not do it.
do not do it.
May
May
my
my
Deha imprisonment again
imprisonment again
in a material body.
in a material body.
Translation: if you are satisfied with this sacrifice, and if you are actually able to do so, kindly bring Maharaj Nimi back to life in this body. The demigods said yes to this request by the sages, but Maharaj Nimi said, please do not imprison me again in a material body. How could he say that when he was dead?
Because when the body was dead, somehow he said it.
He said it. Purport: the demigods are in a position many times higher than that of human beings. Therefore, although the great saints and sages were also powerful brahmanas, they requested the demigods to revive Maharaj Nimi's body, which had been preserved in various perfumed balms. He was a mummy. One should not think that the demigods are powerful only in enjoying the senses. They are also powerful in such deeds as bringing life back to a dead body. There are many similar instances in the Vedic literature. For example, according to the history of Savitri and Satyavan, Satyavan died and was being taken away by Yamaraj. But on the request of his wife Savitri, Satyavan was revived in the same body. This is an important fact about the power of the demigods. Om Ajnana Timiramsya Gyanandana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitan Jena Tasma Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Praya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachayane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastatadesha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. So we hear many wonderful things from the Bhagavatam. We also hear about who did that head transplant. Who did that?
Shiva did that.
Is it, huh?
Huh?
The Daksha? You mean
The Ashwini Kumar.
The Ashwini Kumar. Yeah, different persons get a new head.
It was more than once in the Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
But one time was the Ashwini Kumar.
Yeah. And many times they get an animal head. So they cannot do that, modern scientists, although they are talking about it.
One Italian scientist.
Yeah, one Italian scientist. His name is, what is his name?
I forgot.
He wants to try it. And
In Turin.
in Torino. So he got a volunteer, actually, a guy in a wheelchair who couldn't do anything. So he thought, what can I lose? But it's not so easy to do. And finally, what happened was that this guy in the wheelchair who had volunteers to get a head transplant, which they don't really have any idea how they could do it. He fell in love with some some woman, and they were going to have a baby. So, so he changed his mind. Anyway, but they always say that we can do it in the future, but they won't be able to do it. Not with this gross material science. And so here we hear that the demigods can actually revive a dead body. We have seen in many movies, The Walking Dead maybe, similar, usually like zombie kind of movies, that you can revive kind of mode of ignorance. You can revive dead people. But it's not that he revives, he's going to revive Maharaj Nimi and he's going to be a zombie. He's going to be completely fine. So, this type of science is not like our very gross science. It's a subtle science. The demigods, they can not just revive a dead body, but they are actually the soul is eternal, so they don't create life, but we can say they, in one sense, they create life because they create the bodies, we can say, and then for us it looks like they're creating some living entities. At least they're making them. They're making them move, so they can do many wonderful things. And we are just like little ants compared to the demigods. And these little ants think that they can understand so many things about the creation. Can you imagine an ant? What can a little ant understand about what people are doing in New Mayapur? Nothing. It cannot even see that we are persons, because we are so big for the ant that if a foot is coming, it just seems like there's an earthquake. They can just perceive the effects that we are doing. They cannot understand anything about what is going on between us. So we are like that. Even actually maybe even smaller than an ant compared to the demigods. First of all, we cannot see them. And we can see the effects of what they are doing. And so we wrongly conclude that everything is being carried out automatically. Just like if you're very childish, you may think that you see the street lights changing, that this is just happening. But we know that somebody is doing it. Somebody put those street lights and they can make them change. And sometimes they have to come back and repair them. So sometimes they don't work. And then of course we see them. So the demigods, it's comforting to know that actually they are in charge, isn't it? We see so many bad things happening now in the world, but actually the demigods who are devotees of Krishna, they are actually the persons who are in charge of everything. And ultimately Krishna is in charge. He's in control. And nothing can happen without Krishna's sanction. Sometimes it looks like the demons, they are taking over and we become afraid. But we have to remember that Krishna is stronger, and he is the real controller. But at the same time, Krishna lets some things happen for some reason. I just want to read some little passage from when Prabhupada was in Africa. First time he was in Africa. This is from Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. You know this book? Shama Sundar. He was traveling with Prabhupada. They've just been to Russia also, which is also very interesting. And those of you who know Mandakini, Mataji, she was pioneering the preaching in Russia. And Prabhupada asked her to marry Anatoly, his name was. He was the first person who was interested in Krishna consciousness in Russia. Ananta Shanti became. He met Prabhupada when he came to Moscow. And he said to Prabhupada that it would be easier for him to spread Krishna consciousness if he would marry, I guess, a Westerner. And Prabhupada asked Shama Sundar, what do you think, who do you think could be a good wife for him? And Shama Sundar said, Mandakini. And Prabhupada said, yeah, I was thinking the same.
It was also Prabhupada who wanted him, because in this way she would have an excuse to go to Russia and he could be in touch with devotees. It's not only his idea.
Yeah. See if I can find this passage.
But she was French, so it wasn't considered so dangerous by the Russian authorities. Some French girl went to Russia.
Okay. So, Prabhupada is giving a lecture in Nairobi, in Kenya, something called Taifla Hall, University of Nairobi, yeah. And then Prabhupada had asked the devotees to bring what they call Afro-American devotees also to Africa, so that, that would be better preaching. So they had like half of the devotees were black and the other half was white. So it was the Africans, they appreciated very much. And Prabhupada says, this is just some part of his lecture. So Prabhupada said in the lecture there, we therefore invite the most intelligent men in the world to understand this Krishna conscious philosophy and try to distribute it all over the world. We have now come to these African countries, and I invite all intelligent Africans to come and understand this philosophy and distribute it. You are trying to develop yourselves, so please develop spiritually. For spiritual development is sound development. Don't imitate the Americans and Europeans who are living like cats and dogs. Such civilizations built on the consciousness of sense gratification cannot stand. The atomic bomb is already there, and as soon as the next war breaks out, all their skyscrapers and everything else will be finished. try to understand this from the real viewpoint of human life, the spiritual viewpoint. This is what this Krishna consciousness movement is about. We therefore request you to try to understand this philosophy. Thank you very much. So Krishna is in control, but as we heard Prabhupada say so many times, this civilization will have to come down. It's just a matter of time. So we should not have any illusions about this material world. This is a place of misery, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. What does he say? Dukhalayam ashashvatam. This is not a place for a gentleman. And we should get out of here.
Anityam sukham lokam. He says in other place.
Yeah, we should get out of here, but we may have to stay here for some time. So meanwhile we should come to the mode of goodness. And we should change the way we live. Drastically, we might say. We may do it gradually, but the way we have learned how to live, the way we have been raised in this materialistic society, we need to reconsider and understand that mostly everything that we have learned is wrong. Not just I'm not just talking about theoretical things. I'm talking about the practical way we live. And Prabhupada also said, I don't know where it was, maybe you know, Gaurani. He was walking with his disciples somewhere in America, maybe. And the devotees were, I think it was in America, they were looking at the skyscrapers.
He was driving through Atlanta City together with what's his name? GP in Atlanta. What's his name? Anyway.
It was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't been there, I've been to New York. And I was also looking up on the big buildings and a little bit impressed. But Prabhupada told his disciples, don't be impressed. Palavanta. Don't be impressed, he said. It will all, anytime it can all come crumbling down. You may ask, because I've been thinking about, there's been other Kali Yugas before this one, and why don't they find any traces from the previous Kali Yugas in the archaeology? And I think the simple answer is that Kali Yuga thinks they don't last very long. Concrete actually, after some time, it rots. It's a kind of rotting process for concrete. So you mostly find natural rocks, things like that from very old times. Computers, cars, all these things from a previous Kali Yuga, we won't be able to see all this. It just disappears. Although I think in Turkey or somewhere about there, they have found what appears to be car roads which are fossilized, fossil car roads. Looks like a highway from a previous Kali Yuga. Quite interesting. But generally nothing survives from in the ground. So all these things, all these we think are this wonderful modern society, it will not last very long. let's face it. If you're a materialist, you have to live in illusion. You cannot face reality. So everybody is thinking that everything will be fine. Nothing bad will happen. We will somehow things will continue. There's definitely not going to be nuclear war. That we don't believe. Why do they say that? Sometimes they say like that. But there won't be any nuclear war. Why do you talk about it? There will. 100%. And we have to be prepared. I mean, if we're just ready to go back to Krishna, all right, fine. But if we may not be ready, then we need to make some arrangements. And these arrangements are, the arrangement we have to make is Varnashram Dharma, which includes learning how to survive without all this modern technology, all this whole global economy. We need to seriously get into this. At least somebody, because hard times are coming. I'm not trying to scare you. Let's just face it. We can see that it's already beginning. And then you will say, well, they've been talking about this, for so many years. It won't happen. Since the Second World War, they've been talking about this. And for some time, there was a lot of talk about this. And there was actually, from the government, different governments, there were instructions what to do in case of nuclear war. And they had many shelters, they still have bunkers. I heard in Denmark they start to think about it, and they said something like we can have, I don't remember how many, I think about a few million people we can have underground, and they will be able to, we don't know if it's true or not, and they say they will be able to survive for so and so long time. So people are starting to think about it. In Finland, especially because they have the border to Russia. And now they start to, they have neglected these bunkers for so long time because they thought, now we're fine. Now we're in the spiritual world, actually. We think we're in the spiritual world. We haven't realized that we're in the material world. And when, things happen like we see now, with Ukraine and Russia and NATO getting involved and all these things, we kind of wake up, I hope. I have this feeling that you're waking up from a dream, I have a customer who is 85 years old, German, Madhan, and he was a boy in 1944-45. He was in Frankfurt, and he said there was nothing. Everything was leveled. It was just flat. Yeah, everything was just rubble.
That was a real flat structure.
Yeah, it was a flat structure. And he said it was shocking, and it's something that he can never forget. And then he said that the American soldiers came to liberate them, and they gave them chocolate. He remembers. They got chocolate from the Allied soldiers. So I discussed this with him about war, and I said, yeah, you're not living in that same illusion that we are in, that there won't ever be a war. And he said, yes, I know. And he said it can happen again. He didn't think that, that will never happen again. He said it can happen again.
years old things made a very deep impression on me.
Oh yeah.
So I can imagine how that stuck with him, that experience.
And he said, he talked about Hitler also. He said it was so crazy at the end. Everybody had to fight. He said that children were given bazookas, old ladies. And somehow his father escaped the army. He was an old man, he was kind of invalid. So I mean, we can see some similar things happening now. Now they're mobilizing, everything that can walk in Russia, and there's a huge exodus. People are going to other countries. The Russians, they're trying to avoid, So we can see that throughout history we have these demonic leaders who they just cannot stop. They cannot stop their advance. We saw that Hitler did the same. He could have stopped, after France. I don't know if the French would have accepted to speak German, but if he had stopped there, he could have been in power for a long time. But the demons cannot be satisfied. They just need to get more and more. Escalation. And we see the same thing happening again. It happens again and again, time after the other. Prabhupada, he noticed this also. He mentions Napoleon also, of course Hitler. He says these demonic leaders, they just come for some time, create some disturbance and go away. That's all they do. They don't really contribute with anything constructive. Of course, it has a beginning and an end. But the good thing is that the Sankirtan movement is here, and we should take shelter of that. We should take shelter of Krishna. And if we do that, Krishna will protect us. That protection may not always be physical protection. That does not mean that, I don't know exactly. We cannot say how Krishna makes his plans, but the real protection Krishna gives is that we stay in Krishna consciousness and we remember Krishna always, and especially at the time of death. There's a prayer in the Ishopanishad. A devotee is praying to the Lord that, may you please remember me. You know that? I don't know the Sanskrit. Asking Krishna, please remember what I have done for you, so that I may be able to remember you at the time of death. Because at the time of death, we may be in a very disturbed condition. We definitely will be. The bodily functions are not working. So we cannot remember Krishna. But we can pray to Krishna that we can remember him by his grace. And for being able to remember Krishna at the time of death, we need to practice Krishna consciousness throughout our whole lifetime. And whatever happens, we should be serving Krishna, and we should also try to follow Prabhupada's instructions about how to live on the land. This is becoming more and more important now. And we may be able to survive a big crisis if we are able to live off the land. That is very valuable. Even if you learn just some things about how to manage without all these machines and so on. That can become very, very, very valuable when the really bad times start, and it will be very powerful preaching. It will be something that can save people's lives, can give people jobs. When people are, without any shelter, they don't know what to do, then if ISKCON is there and able to help people, that is very powerful preaching. I had a dream once. I have a dream.
Martin Luther King.
I had a dream when I lived in Norway. There was a huge line of people waiting outside the temple or whatever, and they didn't have any food. So we may be able to see that happening, that there simply won't be food in the shops. A time will come. There won't be any food to buy in the shops. There won't be any money. There won't be any shops even. So we need to learn how to, at least somehow or other we have to start learning all these lost skills, how to survive without modern equipment. It's just, for me, it's just common sense. I don't know what you think about that. For me, it's not a question of high philosophy. It's really just common sense. Just look at the society. I mean, let's just face it. Look at it. Look at what's happening. It's just, if you ever, maybe you don't watch the news, you're transcendental, but if you ever just check the news, just a few minutes, it's horrible. Isn't it? Maybe you have some comments about, any questions about, comments about this? Oh, Bhagavad is there, I didn't see you.
Prabhupada could foresee all of this because, in the early 70s or even the late 60s, he was telling devotees to get land, become self-sufficient, and live off the grid, have your own economy.
Yeah.
Prabhupada did.
I also think we shouldn't be discouraged as well, because we can think that it's already Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, prediction.
Yeah.
He's already predicting that all towns will chant Hare Krishna. And I don't know if he also predicted the farms, but it's also good not to be discouraged and just do our duty, because things will come to place.
I mean, just look at the history. People always lived on farms, always. What happens now has just been going on since basically after World War II, in a large scale. Why all of a sudden, why can't we live like we have always been living? Because one thing is that there's very, very big propaganda against everything from the past is under suspicion. Everything, now we have made advancement, right? That's what they say. Everything is better now. You don't have to work so hard, which I don't see is true. People work really hard, but that's what they say. You don't have to work so hard. People would die young, because they had to work in the fields. All this is propaganda. And now we are making progress, and we're just making progress. It's becoming better and better. But when I look at what's going on, I can just see that they're making progress. Okay, you're getting technology, and the economy is exponential, but you cannot have an exponential economy just going on and on and on. But that's another topic. But that will have to come down. technology, economy, all these things, okay, there's some advancement. But the quality of human beings, is that better? Is it becoming better, human beings? Are they... Look at the history of the last century. Is it... Are we living in peace, you know? First World War, Second World War, Vietnam War, Afghanistan, you know, you name it, so many.
And I think also a lot of people are understanding that this system doesn't work, but because they are already in the system, they can leave.
You have
For
to
example,
speak a little louder.
You're already a teacher, a nurse, and you don't know, like, now should I quit my job and go to a farm? So we should invest on young people who still are not in the system, who still don't have a job or children. They can already manage to live more sustainable.
We're all tied into the system. But that does not mean that we cannot have one foot. That this is how I try to live. I have one foot in their camp, you can say, because you cannot change the system. That's very difficult. But you also have one foot in the camp of trying to develop a different lifestyle. You can do both simultaneously. And when the time comes, when you have to, you're being more forced to go into, you know, self-sufficiency and doing things in a different way, then you have already some skills, and then it will be easier to make the transition. But yeah, for the time being, people won't change on a big scale. But those who are more intelligent, they will start to change, at least for... that's how I see it. I'm not expecting that anything big will happen until you come to the shop and they say, sorry, there's no food. Then people will change. But if you're a little bit intelligent, then you will start to prepare. And then people will say, oh, why are you doing this? You know, like my mother, why do you want bulls? You know? Why do you make life so complicated, she said. But actually it's just the opposite. We are trying to make life easier. But she cannot see that. For her, if you have a tractor, why do you want bulls? Just take the tractor, you know. But the tractor is very complicated. I mean, I talked to some farmers about this. They say, oh, the tractor is so nice, you know, you can just park it. And you don't use it. You don't need to take care of it, but yeah, you need to take care of it. You need to feed it with gasoline, you know. A tractor, how much, like a medium-sized modern tractor, new tractor, it costs like 150,000 euros, you know. It's not simple living. You can get male calves for free, which can become bulls. You know why they give them for free? Because they're sending them to the slaughterhouse. So you can get them for free. I'm getting two male calves for free. One cow costs about 800-900 euros. And tractors, they don't make new little tractors. That's a big difference. Anyway, yeah, we're tied into the system, but that does not mean that we just remain tied up. We can change our lifestyle. We should change our lifestyle. We may not be able to do a lot. It requires courage. Somebody has to start. Not everybody will do the same, but we can do even little things. Like you can you can make your own bread. That's the start. Then if you are more serious, then you can grow your own grains. Start growing your own grains. And then you make a sourdough bread instead of buying yeast. You can heat with wood. That's you can you can do it, but the heating system has to be working also. you can grow a little patch of vegetables. Everybody can do that. You know, that doesn't require a huge investment or huge machinery. You can just start with a shovel. You know? Everybody can do it. And most of all, we should chant Hare Krishna. I think if we chant Hare Krishna, start chanting Hare Krishna, naturally we will change, isn't it? Okay. Anything else? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. I think it's better to talk about. Although it's very scary. Yeah, talk about what's going to happen. It's going to happen. You can't do it. Cannot just we can be like a rabbit who just like this, and then he thinks that the wolf will not come and take him.
Well, there is all over in the news. They can talk about it, we can talk about it.
Yeah, they're talking about it on CNN. They're talking about what they're imagining, what will happen if they drop one bomb.
Ukraine.
Yeah, or in Europe. Because they talk about two different bombs. They have tactical nuclear, and then they have
Too.
but somebody says that tactical nuclear bombs don't exist. It's not true. They're all the same. And doesn't matter.
Tactical nuclear bombs just means smaller nuclear bombs that you can use like together in a type of conventional.
Yeah, like if you want to
They don't destroy everything. It's just.
But those tactical ones, they have like from 15 to 50 kilograms of TNT. The one they dropped over here in Japan, it had like 10. Quite big. And then they have the big ones. They're like 200 kilotons. That's really I don't, but they cannot destroy it. Krishna will not allow.
No.
They can if Krishna allows, but
No, it's not the plan.
they're not so powerful that they can just destroy it.
Not the plan.
But they can clean up a little bit. Clean up all this, get rid of all this big CDs and all these stupid tractors, so we can start, fulfilling Prabhupada's desire for simplicity. It has a purpose.
Yes.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
When you walk, you don't leap. You go from where you stand, then you move one foot. And then when that foot is secure, you can move the next foot. So we shouldn't try to leap into a totally different lifestyle.
Gradually.
We take one step, and then when that foot is secure, then we can move the other foot also.
Krishna, 7 months now. This is supposed to be a special 3 days. At the beginning, 3 days.
They also thought that when the First World War started, this is going to be a quick war. And ended up in a stalemate for
5 years.
There was a woman in Moscow, old lady, 65 years. She planted a bomb in one Russian general's car. He was, unfortunately, he was not in the car. She thought, unfortunately, she blew it up. And they
And
caught
his
her.
daughter was in the car.
No, that's another one. That's a different one. This one is not the same. And they caught her, but she was not ashamed. She was actually proud. She said, "This is my special military operation."
So there was Finland, Kazakhstan, Georgia. They all leave to Kazakhstan, Finland, and Georgia.
Yeah. Turkey.
Turkey is not because of the road. Because in Finland we have 1,300 kilometers border.
Yeah.
1,300. And of course Kazakhstan.
The only Western country which is bordering on Russia.
Yeah, with
I mean, now of course all of Eastern Europe is Western, but
But
from
Europe-
the former communist bloc,
yeah, this is Finland.
from the former,
Yeah.
what used to be the Western Europe, is the
Yeah.
only country that is bordering, has
Yeah,
a
but
border,
1,300 kilometers.
a long border too.
1,300. When you live in, you see Finland, it's big,
Yeah.
it's a big border. But Kazakhstan is a big country. Kazakhstan, we go to Kazakhstan as well.
That's huge.
The president protect them. They protect and welcome the Russian to come to Kazakhstan.
The Russians,
The president in Kazakhstan, the
Yeah.
president, he welcomes the Russian. He give them shelter.
the refugees
The president, yeah, in
who are
Kazakhstan.
fleeing from Russia
Yeah,
to
they
avoid
flee.
conscription.
Oh yeah, they go to
Yeah,
Kazakhstan,
right.
Georgia and Finland. But the president of Kazakhstan welcomed them. He welcomed them to come.
Yeah.
He want to take them.
And he protects them from Putin.
Yeah, because Finland is a bit troublesome because they start to close the border.
Yeah.
There's too many cars, too many
Like 10,000 people came the last week.
every day. Like it's 20 kilometers traffic jam on the border.
Yeah, and
Okay,
they now they're talking they're going to close the border.
And Georgia.
The Russians are going to close the border
Yeah.
from that side.
Yeah, but Russian as well. Yeah. Russian,
Because-
but no,
Because they don't want they don't want all the soldiers to all the
They are leaving now from everywhere. Georgia, Turkey.
The president of Finland, he looks very worried.
Yeah.
He's trying to
So,
be diplomatic, but his face is...
yeah, I can see he was.
You see him?
That's his video.
He,
He was great. He was like, listen.
he knows Putin very well.
Yes, yeah, he was both. When he was talking in the video, he was very different, you know, he was concerned.
But he said something like, we are used to, Western Europeans, we're used to everything getting better and better. So now we have like a crisis, different things, crisis going on. But he said this is nothing really seriously. Just look at the Ukrainians, the crisis they're going through, and they're making it through.
Yeah.
So he said we can make it through also. He's preaching that we should not surrender to their gas or whatever. I mean, in our house we don't need gas.
You use wood.
We don't need gas. We have gas, but we can quickly.
You can work on it because you like all time.
We can quickly convert.
Convert cuisinière with wood. You can cook with
We
wood.
can even cook in the fireplace.
Like in on fireplace, yeah.
Open fireplace.
Yeah,
We
you
have
can
this.
cook. My grandparents, we have a cuisinière in France, you know, with wood. Cuisinière, you put the pan, that's all for the problem.
And it heats the house.
It's a house, it does everything at once. You're so, it's embarrassing, you're right, you're so right. T'as tellement raison.
Skal vi tage over til G og hente æblejuice der?
Yeah, this can we. We made apple juice.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
We bought two bottles yesterday.
we will get just now
What?
in his place
Yeah.
because the pressoir is looking for a few days. So now it's like 20-25 liters. But this is also, this machine is completely manual. It's brand new.
Not the ones that smashes the apples, but it
Yeah.
could be done manually.
Fire is electric.
Why?
But I have one actually in the attic, a manual fire for grapes, you know?
Okay.
You just do like this and then some things are turning. And there's also a kind of bag for collecting.
My grandparents were that. My grandparents were farmers.
get rid of all this nonsense.
Yes.
Just a little patience.
Yeah.
We just have to wait.
2 months.
It will happen.
2 months?
Krishna is in charge of the time.
Maybe longer.
We can.
Oh, winter. I mean, it's a winter
Sometimes we
time.
become impatient.
Yeah, the winter time. Yeah, winter. It's a problem there. Because of winter.